Zdaroviet, Tavarish, or howdy. That's howdy in Russian. Sort of. It actually means health. Tavarish means comrade. What you're looking at is an 1895 Russian Nagant revolver. This was developed, as it says, in 1895 by Emil and Leon Nagant, industrialists and gun designers from Liège, Belgium. Nagant's brothers were well known in St. Petersburg because they had been instrumental in the creation of the Mosin Nagant rifle, or as it was called, the 1891, was it 5-step or 2-step? I forget the name of it, but it's referring to the, I think the caliber of the gun. But anyway, they came up with this design for the Russian Imperial Army. And it was used extensively by the Imperial Army. NCOs carried a single action version of this, and officers a double action. This one is a double action, so it's actually an officer's from that period. But in reality, if you look, this has a star with a T in it. That is the logo for the Tula Arsenal. That means this was made in Russia. And if you look underneath it, it's in 1944. Well, that's a wee bit after the Tsar was around. This, after the revolution, was mainly used by the apparatchiks, the political officers in the Soviet Union, to discipline their own troops. If you ever saw the movie Enemy at the Gates, that's the movie about the invasion of Russia in World War II and the Battle of Stalingrad. You'll see near the beginning, there's a scene of a boat going across the river, Dnieper River, I think, and trying to unload a bunch of raw troops, which they've, you take a rifle, and the next guy, he gets some bullets, but he doesn't get a rifle. When your comrade dies, you pick up his rifle and continue forward with it. That was the way they did it. Well, there was a couple of apparatchiks there. They had bullhorns, and they were saying, for the fatherland, for the Rodinya, for Uncle Stalin and all of the good guys back in Moscow, go forward and die. And when the people were noticing that there were these big bombs going off and very fierce Germans standing there shooting at them, they'd turn around and run, and the apparatchiks would grab their nagants and start firing at the fleeing troops. I think that more died from the political officers than died from the Russians, or the Germans, excuse me. Anyway, the one interesting thing about a Nagant revolver, first of all, it's a single loading thing, and the way you unload it is you pull this thing out and run it into a chamber and pop out your shells. And then, oh God, come on. This thing is kind of rough. But what's really interesting is when you cock it, this is double action, so I can cock it. Let me shut it again. You'll notice something. Watch the cylinder. I'm gonna dry fire it here. Now watch that cylinder. Watch it go forward as I cock it. What this is doing is making a gas seal between the chamber here and the cylinder. Why? Because this is the round it shoots. No, this is not a fired one. This is a unfired round. You'll notice there's a bullet right down there in it. This thing will sit in here with this section of the bullet actually inside the flash hole here, the forcing cone, I guess it's called, and basically makes for a gas seal. It's a 30 caliber. It's a 7.62 millimeter. And this is the only revolver, that can actually be silenced. You can put a suppressor on here because there's a gas seal right here. The gas seal is made up partially by this system, but mostly by the fact that there's a bit of brass in between. I happen to have this is a box of factory Nagant rounds, obsolete of course, but this was made in Russia. You never know. I try to pick up rounds for any of these antique guns that I pick up because, well, if you see them, grab them because they may not show up again. I just think that though this is a poor design or a poor example of the design, I would rather have an early 1890s vintage ones because the polish on them, this is just lacquered black, but the polish on the early ones is much nicer. But there are some unique things, like for instance, this little wooden insert here and one on the back strap here. Just interesting little design quirks that they used. And this, like I said, this was made in 1944, probably in a slave labor camp. But it does shoot, and I've shot it. The double action pull is brutal. You don't want to do it. Single action is best. But I wouldn't really carry this as a pistol today. It's very underpowered and not exactly an easy thing to find ammo for. But very, very unique.